we saw each other for the first time back in Frankfurt when I got back, and you came up to me and you said, Everett, I'm really excited for you. I'm so happy I would jump up and down right now, but I don't want to scuff my boots.
And those boots are fabulous. Ferocious.
Yeah. This is All Ears. I'm Everett Hopfner, and on this episode, I'll be speaking to my dear friend Roldon Brown. Roldon is an American flutist who now makes his home in Frankfurt, Germany. He's had a very interesting musical and personal journey, and I'm very honored to have the chance to share part of his story with you. Aside from his flute playing, Roldon is a public speaker. He's shared his experience not only as an emerging classical musician, but also as a person who stutters. I find it so inspiring that Roldon has embraced his communicative disorder and channeled his strong will to express himself through his music. Our conversation is coming up right after this. All Ears is a new platform for emerging musicians who are making a difference in their communities. You can subscribe to the show in the iTunes Store to explore the full back catalog and make sure you'll never miss an episode. And while you're there, you can leave the show a rating and a review. Your feedback really helps All Ears reach more ears. Roldon, thank you so much for doing this and sitting down and joining me on All Ears. It's a great pleasure to talk to you again.
It's my honor to do it with you. It's my honor.
Born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana?
Yes. I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana. My mom, she sang gospel in church, and my dad played jazz trumpet. So then that's how the spark for music started. We always had Sade playing in the house and gospel music. So I was always really, really interested in music. I didn't know that classical music would fit me the most. But music was always a thing. When I was 2 or 3, and my parents, they owned an African bookstore in Lafayette, so we had African drums. So I started playing African drums and drum set, and then I performed on stage at Festival International when I was 4 on drum set, and then that was the beginning of my music career.
How did you end up with the flute in your hands and playing flute?
Well, my sister, she played saxophone in the school bands. And then when she stopped playing saxophone, it was time for me to start band. So I had her saxophone. I played saxophone. I was really bad, and the case was bigger than me, so it was really heavy. And then my best friend at the time and his dad, they both played the flute. So I thought all the cool people play the flute. So then I had my parents pawn the saxophone for a flute. And then that's how it happened.
And how old were you when you started on flute?
I think I was 13.
And so what kind of musical context would you be playing in around that age?
I was in the middle school band. So it was just band music, nothing classical, just the basic ensemble music.
Uh-huh. When was the first time that you found yourself playing music with others and it started to feel like you were really doing something you cared about?
In high school, they have district honor band. So the top people from each school, you form one band for the weekend. You have like 3 days to learn it, and then you give a concert at the end. 1 year, I was sitting second, and we had this difficult passage. And the band director, he jokingly said that he wished a flutist would come the next day and stand on his podium and play it. I don't like when people issue challenges to me and they feel like I can't do it. So I went home and I practiced, and my mom cooked, and I didn't want to eat because I needed to practice. So she forced me to anyway. And then, so the next morning when he was passing, I tapped him and said that I was ready for what he said, his challenge. And he said, "Oh, I was joking." And I said, "I'm not." And then for the lunch break, after the lunch break, I stood on the podium in front of the band. They were in front, and all of the district band directors were in back. I was playing piccolo, so I played on piccolo. And I played the passage in front of everyone. And I think after I did that, I didn't know if that was going to be the final thing for me, but I knew I felt bold enough to do it. And that's when it started.
Huh. Roldon, sometimes it's difficult for young people to go into music as a pursuit for an educational experience or as a career. What kind of support have you had through your journey?
I've had lots of family support, just in terms of getting the instruments, of paying for lessons. We had at one time, and now that time has passed, I can share the story without my mom and sister being embarrassed about it. But well, I started taking private lessons seriously when I was the summer after ninth grade. When I was in high school, our hot water heater broke. So then my mom had the choice: either you get a new hot water heater or you continue flute lessons. And there was no question, so we continued flute lessons. And for 3 years, every time you wanted to take a bath, every time you wanted to wash dishes, you had to boil the water. I think that when you have a parent that's willing to do that, and when you have a sister who's not even playing the flute, who doesn't complain, then it puts something in you, you know? It makes you, it shows you without even saying it that what you need to do, you can if you just, you have to believe it's worth it, you know? You believe it's worth it. You know that it's not always going to be easy, and you make the sacrifices and you do it.
That's not a decision that a lot of people would be comfortable making.
I know it wasn't comfortable, but my mom is awesome.
What do you think she saw in you that made her help to come to that conclusion?
I'm not sure what she saw in me, but I think that whatever we wanted to do, she gave us the best opportunity to do it. I think more than anything, if she didn't see anything in us, which I'm more than sure she did because she rose as well, then she believed in the job that she did, you know? And not, there was never pressure put on me to ever practice the flute. There was never pressure to win anything. That was never said. I think if I would have stopped playing the flute then, I think she would have known that she tried the best and I wasn't interested. I was never forced to practice. I was always asked to stop practicing because it's too late at night and we need to get to sleep. But never to practice. I'm not sure what she saw that made her do it, but I just think that she has belief, and that's why.
Roldon, in 2012, you made a pretty significant life-changing decision, and you decided to continue your studies not in the United States, but across the ocean in Germany. You began studying at the Hochschule für Musik und Darstellende Kunst in Frankfurt.
Genau.
Why?
I came here for my great teacher, Thaddeus Watson. So I graduated with my bachelor's in the winter of 2008. And then I took some years off. I played with groups in Louisiana. So that was helpful to actually play. And as a side thing too, I really got interested in tennis, and I know it's not music, but it really contributed to a lot of mental strength, I think. So then, I had one great friend that came to school in Frankfurt, and he suggested I consider the teacher here. I told myself when I graduated with my bachelor's that I wasn't going to do my master's degree until I found a teacher that I believed in. I don't believe in, okay, now that I finished my bachelor's, I have to do my master's, and now that that's done, I have to do this. I think if you're not inspired to work with someone, then it's okay to take a year off or two, or like I took 4, but but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that connection started, and then I was very, very fortunate enough to be accepted. I think it's very, very interesting because I hadn't been to Europe before, and I told myself, if I'm going to be spending the money on this airline ticket, then I'm going to secure that spot. I'm not flying here to not do it. And it worked out. But I didn't know any German. So that was very tricky at first. And it was a crash course. But yeah.
How is the Roldon you are today, living in Germany, different from the Roldon that lived in Louisiana? Have there been changes in your life circumstances here that have brought out something different in your personality?
I can't quite put it into words, the big difference there is. I feel like they're two very different people, but they're very, very connected. When I lived in the U.S., I always knew I wanted to try some different country, to experience something else. I didn't know how I would do it. I didn't have the finances to do it. I felt like I had no strong direction. So in those ways, I feel like that same person was still very, very driven and very, just single-minded. When I look back now, I really don't know how I stayed that single-minded for such a long time. This Roldon now, I think I've always taken things seriously, very seriously. For some people, a bit too much, but I think that's maybe me. But I think now I take things very seriously in a calmer way. I like the relaxed nature to Europe. I like that here diversity is more accepted, and I feel more comfortable being myself here. I really think certain places fit certain people, and I really love what Europe has done to me. But at the same time, I'm very, very happy I'm very happy to come from where I come from, because I think it's made me who I am, and it's instilled a lot of what I think to be, some people might not, but very good things in me. So I certainly wouldn't change the combination. It wasn't always easy, but life isn't. So.
In the time that I've known you, in our time together in Frankfurt, and now living in different cities, but still staying connected in Germany, I think it's been clear also. I mean, we've both seen your growth as a person and your comfort and your development in that direction. But let's not bury the lead here. You've also been a very successful and very active musician here in Germany as well. It's a large part of your success. So do you want to talk about some of your recent activities and some of your current activities as a professional flutist in Frankfurt?
Well, in November, I had the great honor to play the Nielsen Flute Concerto with the Frankfurter Verein, and we did it for 3 nights. So that was a really, really good experience. And then a few weeks later, I had the chance to play the Mercadante Flute Concerto with a chamber group. And in 2013, I subbed with the Frankfurt Radio Symphony. That was an amazing experience. Pavel Yarby, he directed it. That was really a great experience. And that was televised too, so my family could see it back in the US. And that year, I substituted also with the Bad Nauheim Chamber Orchestra. And that was a lot of fun as well. I did a recital last summer in Helsinki in the Saarkirko. It's a great venue. I was really excited about that. The Orfeo Choir of Frankfurt, I had the chance. They wanted to join their choir concert with a flute recital in 3 parts. And that was really just a great thing to do. We did it for 2 nights, and they sang, and then I did the first part of a solo flute recital, and that happened 3 times.
Roldon, I think anyone who's listening to this podcast up to this point may have noticed that you have a stutter.
Yes, I do.
How do you describe your speech?
I've learned not to describe it so much, not to think about it so much. There's men in my family and they stutter as well. So I've stuttered since childhood. I think at first it's tricky. You have to learn. Excuse me, that's a hiccup. Stutter. You have to learn how to. You try to learn how to manage it, and when you're younger, 5th grade, 4th grade, the times reading publicly, like in class, it's just torture. So I know in 7th grade, it was time for classroom reading, and for my turn to read, I would always have to go to the bathroom, so I would just leave and come back like 5 minutes later, so they were back to the other side of the class. I know it might sound crazy, but as frustrating as I do find it sometimes, and don't get me wrong, it is very, very frustrating, especially when you're like out at like some club and you're looking like super great and you see someone that you want to kind of talk to, your Dolce & Gabbana fragrance, you're feeling fabulous, and then you walk up and you can't say your name. It's like, okay, well, but I'm blessed to have the experience to stutter, because I think it teaches me a lot. One of the first things is I like things to be very correct. And I think it's easy to have patience with others, but one of the hardest things is to have patience with yourself. And I think this has showed me through the years that, sometimes it's not as smooth as you want it to be, but you move on, you you move on and you go forward. And just because you stuttered this morning doesn't mean that, every time you talk today is going to be the same. You do it, you get over it, and you go forward. I did say too that I've learned a lot from stuttering. One thing, aside from patience, though, is I think when you stutter or have something that's not typical or normal, so to say, well, there's so many words for it. I think it shows you a lot about people, and it shows you how to read people a bit quicker. Just I think in some ways it automatically puts you in a scenario where you can see the core of the person quickly. When you're in a restaurant and you want to order beef stew, what do they do when you're stuttering in front of them? They can go some ways. They can be patient. They can try and rush you. They can try and calm you down. There's so many things that they can do in a situation, and I think it shows you a lot about the person. That's been a really, really helpful thing. I think in hindsight, I think maybe it's protected me and shielded me from getting involved in some things that maybe I shouldn't have been involved in anyway. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Are there physical or physiological aspects of a stutter that can affect your flute playing?
I can't speak for others. I can just speak for myself. And I always thought that there was no connection to certain flute problems I was having until maybe the last year, 18 months. The way that I've learned to manage breathing doesn't always work with flute playing, making it smooth and connected. I find it's getting better, a lot better. But at first, it was very difficult to play longer things in a smooth way. And I couldn't manage my air properly. If it was really short or explosive, I could make that happen. Now I'm learning that there's certain internal pressures between the chest and the neck and tongue and stomach and all these things that I need to work on in order to make sure that my breathing and those muscles in terms of tension are working properly, so they don't stop me from doing what I want and need to be able to do.
As we've gotten to know each other a bit, Roldon, we've talked a lot about communication and the different ways that communication can manifest themselves in our lives. You've started sharing your story and presenting your music to various organizations and foundations in support of other people who stutter. Can you just tell me about some of your relationships you've formed and some of your communication that you've brought in those areas?
Well, I'm sponsored by the International Stuttering Foundation and the Stuttering Foundation of America. At the World Congress for People Who Stutter, I had the opportunity to present a recital and a presentation to people who stutter. What I focus on, I think the playing is important, yes, but I think it's important that people know that even though they have a hard time speaking, they have something to say, and they can find their own outlet to say it. So I want to encourage them to find their own outlet. However they can communicate, that's the right thing for them. Another thing that I like to focus on is the issue of confidence. I think people who stutter, we have a difficult time really just standing in front of someone or a group of people and really being super confident. I can see why. They ask you your name and you can't say it, and then they ask you, where are you from, and you can't say that either. So then you start to look down. And just it builds over a week, it builds over a month, and it builds over years. And without knowing it or choosing to acknowledge it, then you're not as bold as you could be. Mm-hmm. So my point of view, and what I like to emphasize when I do these presentations, is that it doesn't matter what you have something to say, and you can say it. And that's my target.
Have you received any kind of a response or feedback from other people who stutter?
Yes.
Have you had people share their stories with you?
Yes. If you go to the Roldon Brown Flute Facebook fan page, which I encourage you all to do, then I get messages from that page, and I've had kids in Thailand send messages from the States. I've had a few from South Africa, various places, and that they find it to be just a good thing to see, and it shows them that they can do it as well. And sometimes their parents contact me, and their parents they say things too. I'm really shocked that it's reached out in different countries. For me, I mean, yes, I do want a great career as a flutist, and I want to play with this group and make these CDs, which you all should get one day. But I think I'm extremely, extremely honored and extremely blessed to have the opportunity to hear back from people that happen to have been inspired by something that I've done. So that's a really good feeling.
Roldon, we do a recurring segment on the show called the Mr. Rogers Memorial People Are Wonderful Moment of Joy.
Okay.
Can you tell me about somebody who's helped you reach where you are today?
Wow. Well, I heard your other podcast, so I knew this was coming. If I have to choose one, I would say I think the most influential person for me is my mom. I spoke about, the sacrifices she made for the flute lessons, but I think everything that she instilled in, my sister and me, she instilled confidence, sense of self-worth, to be yourself. If you have a belief, you stand up and you go for it. And discipline. She was very aware of what could be difficulties in the future, and I think she did an amazing job of training us for it. At the time, granted, we thought she was just really mean, but but I'm really, really glad she did it. She knew that if you don't learn the lesson now, you're going to learn it in a harder and worse way later. If you have something to do, you can organize the time to do it. I think she's an amazing, amazing, amazing human being. And I'm still inspired by her now. And I think if I can get 50% of what she has, then I'll be fine. There was a rough time last year when I felt so distanced from my home power source, my sister and my mom and my niece and my dad. And I guess, I don't know how she did it, but she just sensed it. And then randomly, I just get this email and it just says, "You don't need me. You're stronger than me. You just need to know it." And it really changed a lot.
Roldon, how do people follow you and keep up with your activities? How can we find you and track you down online?
I gave myself a birthday present last year, and it's roldonbrown.com. And you can send me a message also on the Roldon Brown Flutist Facebook page as well. I would love to hear from any person who wants to just, if you want to say hello, if you want to, collaborate, or just, talk or chat. I think it's all about a human connection. I think that's really important. So I hope you guys, take the opportunity, please.
Roldon, you have such an amazing story, and I think the best part about it is that you're still very early on in this book. You got so much coming up ahead of you, and I'm so thrilled that our paths have crossed here in Frankfurt. It's been such a joy to get to know you and to have you as a friend, and I thank you so much for sitting down with me today and spending all this time talking about yourself. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm honored to have the privilege to do it. I think highly of you. You know that, but thank you so much.
Alright, there you have it. That is it for this episode of All Ears. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at evhopf, that's EVHOPF, and the show at This Is All Ears. The All Ears logo was designed by Isabel Kalimnik. Go to my website, everetthopfner.com, for show notes on this episode and information about Roldon and all my previous guests. Every time you like, tweet, share, or recommend All Ears, you help emerging artists reach a wider audience. All Ears is back on April 16th.